Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, hello. This is another great evening with the MODG podcast. I want to say welcome, and we got a great guest as always, Mr. Glynn Morgan from NBC Chicago. Glynn, say hello to everyone.
Hey, what's up, everybody out there in MODD land? How's it going?
We got Mr. Ruiz, who is another part of the Mod Squad. David, let him hear your voice, please.
Good afternoon, good evening. Go Bears. Getting ready to get this pod going. Excited to be here.
And we got Mr. Samo, another great addition to the Mod Squad. Samo, give everybody a hearty bear down, please, sir.
Yes, sir. Bear down. Let's get
Hey,
this thing
come
going.
on. Get more hearty than that, man. Come on. I want to hear a good
Bear
down.
down.
Come on now.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. You know, we still
There we
down,
go.
Glenn. We're
Say it with
still
your
hurting a
chest.
little bit, man. You know,
Say it with your
we're
chest.
still stung, man.
That's true.
The chest is still stinging right now. That's why it's a little tough to just come out with that emphatic bear down right now at this point in time. Give it a few months.
Swiffer, let us get a bear down, Swift.
Well, Swift's under the weather, so we're gonna have to bear down for him.
Well, that's fine. Tonight, tonight we're going to talk about life after Justin Fields, and what direction does the Chicago Bear organization go in now, needing a quarterback and still needing some other holes that need to be filled. So, Glenn, I'm gonna start with you. We all got the heartbreaking news, and it's like we lost a loved one at the end of the day.
Mhm.
But, just like with business, corporate America, life goes on, life keeps rolling, and life keeps life. And so, based off what happened, Glenn, give us some intro perspective of why you think it happened the way it happened and where we go right now.
Yeah, thanks, Will. First off, I really want to address, because I had to really think about it, like why had this Justin being traded away, why it's affected so many people and so deeply, myself included. And, clearly a lot of people would be like, well, dude, he didn't have a winning record. He didn't throw for a lot of yards. He had a lot of quote unquote flaws, so on and so forth. Why would you not want to have an opportunity to improve that option and at the same time improve the team and maybe even the team viability when it comes to the rookie contract, so to speak? And I said, you know what? It goes beyond just that. That's just looking at him as a commodity. You're not looking and taking everything into account, especially the person. And I realized that Justin, it wasn't just, his peer group, his age or younger kids. I'm older than Justin, so it was also my generation. But I also realized I have a dear friend of my mother's. She's passed on now, but a dear friend of my mother's who is with us still, and she's almost 80. And she's like done with the Bears. And she's like, F this and F that. And she doesn't really talk that way, so she was very emphatic. I'm like, how did this young man come across so many different demographics so profoundly? And I thought about it. It's because to me, and I think to everybody else, Justin epitomized Chicago as far as Chicago fans go, Chicago sports fans go. I think about icons like Michael Jordan and Walter Payton specifically. Now, Michael, before he won the championships, he was our guy. He was our icon. Those 6 years or 7 years before he finally won one, but those 6 years of struggle, especially up against the Pistons, we all felt that. The national media, because national media will do what it does, Jordan can't lead the team. He can't make the players around him better. Jordan is his scoring. He has to subdue his scoring to win, because no scoring champion at that point ever won the NBA championship. He led his team to NBA championship. All the things that he can't do. And Jordan, and what epitomized Chicago sports fans, I think, the athletes, they don't complain. They give it 100%. You see every effort out there. And when they get beat down, they don't complain about the beat down. They come back, get stronger, and go back at it. And they give the Chicago fan, every bit of who they are without complaint. And we respect that. This is a city. You hear all the poets, Carl Sandburg, so forth, City of Big Shoulders, all that stuff. But keep in mind, that's something to that. We live through blizzards. We live through, all types of crazy weather, all types of, violence that's happening, all types of things in the city of Chicago. We live through and we persevere. And I think that's what we expect our athletes to do, to persevere. not complain, be accountable, and all that. And that's what Jordan did in spades. And then when he became a champion, that just added on to it. Same thing with Walter. Walter getting beat down for 9 to 10 years before he finally won a championship. I mean, he's getting hit. He missed one game his entire career. That's what we expect. And when we see Justin go through all that, and we realize he's been dealt a raw hand. And in this day and age, I'm not knocking youth because they're youth, but things are a little bit different. There's a little more narcissism because of social media. When you see the youth out here, sometimes being caught up in themselves, but Justin not being like that, giving his all every time, not cheating the fans at all, wanting to win, putting his heart on his sleeve, not complaining. And we all know he could have thrown a lot of players under the bus. I mean, a lot of people failed Justin, not just the organization, even some of his teammates, to not do that, to fight through all that, and to start to see him ascend and have the rug pulled out from underneath him. It almost felt like he got used in a way. And you felt like, for me, like, my nephew got done wrong. For the woman I mentioned earlier, probably felt like her grandson got done wrong. Everybody else, maybe their brother, someone they looked up to. And it's like, you don't understand, why wasn't he invested in? You start to see Keenan Allen come in, and you start to see DeAndre Swift, Everett, and something else is coming down the line. It's like, man, if he could have just had that, let's see what we can do. Let's ride with this dude. And we know this to be the case because his teammates, the entirety of the team, is like, keep Justin. The exit interviews, keep Justin. Cole Kmet, he hurt by it. The team understood that, and they called some of these guys specifically before the message, before the information came out about Justin being gone. But that says something, man. It goes beyond just the stats. It goes beyond just the money. And I think that's why it just still bothers some people. And it's more than just, and when we hear idiots out there making fun of it and making light of it, it's like, man, really? That's all you saw. You just saw that. You didn't see all the struggle. You didn't see what the beatdowns this man took and kept up going, and picked himself up and kept back going. Like, you didn't have respect for what he went through. And that's disrespectful. And I think that's why it's so visceral, this him being traded away to Pittsburgh, so I just want to get that out. Now, I know you asked me a question. If you can repeat the question again, I just had to get that out, man.
Well, the biggest question that, and I think a lot of us, for the most part, we know the answer to this, but why do you think, with the opportunity to essentially, because when you listen to what Mike Tomlin said about a lot of coaches are failing players at different skill position groups, but they're still getting promoted upward, where a lot of careers are falling to the wayside. Even with the immense athleticism that Justin possessed, why do you think even now that trade was made, knowing we could have traded down multiple times and essentially not only got premium picks for 2024, but premium picks probably for 2025 and 2026, and with proper coaching, Shane Waldron, Kerry Joseph, Thomas Brown,
right?
A lot of people I talk to, they assess Justin at a B. Like, they probably could have elevated him to an A. And I know we've heard because of the rookie deal and, resetting the clock, and Justin is a polls guy. But from your perspective, why do you think at this point, because if you was going to deal him, if I was the GM, I would have dealt him, realistically, probably at the start of free agency. So I could, and I get it. You want to put Justin in a position where he can thrive. But if I'm the GM and I'm trying to work both, first and foremost, my commitment is to the organization. If I know that I'm going in a different path, and essentially, like I've always said, and I never thought this would have come to pass, but we gave him away for a bag of Doritos. So how do you think at this point, besides looking out for the player, because, the reports have stated that Justin wanted to go to Pittsburgh, like, from your viewpoint, how does that help his career when realistically in year 4, if, we don't decline the 5th-year option, he balls out, then guess what? He's set up for a good second contract. And now, from my perspective, now it's starting to look like he might end up like a Mitchell Trubisky, and hopefully, I hope this doesn't happen, but turn into a journeyman going from team to team.
Right. A lot of layers there, a lot to unpack. I'll say this real quick because I know Mr. Reeves, David wants to chime in, and also Samuel as well. Um, to answer your question, money, really, unfortunately, money is the root of all evil. I'm not calling what he did evil, but money's the root of a lot of decisions that people make. Sometimes even against the betterment of where their heart tells them to speak, to be, so to speak. Um, yeah, Justin really, and I said it before, he's a man out of time. He was drafted by the wrong regime at the wrong time as they were leaving out, and he didn't have enough time with this regime because of his contract. Um, and I'd have to imagine Poles believes that, and we've talked about it a little bit before we began the show, risk aversion. You have to Poles at the end of the day. He's got to say, is it me or is it you? He's looking out for his job too. Poles is entering his third year. Okay, he's not on a rookie deal, but he's entering his third year, and at some point, you have to start showing and stop promising. And it's going to be difficult, even more difficult. And let's say let's say he kept Justin, and Justin started to do well, but then Justin got a serious injury, and then Caleb is shining somewhere else. That could look really bad too. Then you're stuck with, are you going to pay Justin, and you're still not quite sure, blah blah blah. So this way, Poles, and it's very obvious, you're able to let Justin go. You're able to free up some money down the line for the next subsequent years because of the rookie contract. But you're getting a player who is talented, and although he and Justin have some similar issues, he's younger, he's talented. There's talent aspects of his passing game that are different and maybe a bit more advanced to where Justin's is. So you're starting there. But at the same time, Poles is putting together a better car for this guy to hand the keys off to. And along with that, as you mentioned earlier, Shane Waldron being there. So he is going to do what wasn't done for Justin or any other Bear quarterback that we've pretty much seen in our lifetime. And that's have a better car to drive in and someone to better teach you how to drive that vehicle going forward. So I think Caleb will have success, and I think it's a better chance that'll happen than it won't. We saw a team that went 7-10 and very easily could have gone 10-7 last year, despite all the things that went wrong, on and off the field. Again, they're faced with a last place record schedule that they'll have, and this will be different. Teams have to learn how to defend Caleb. He's different than Justin, so there'll be a bit of an adjustment for those teams as well. And there's different talent here, and it's a different coaching staff. So the Bears have a bit of an advantage, maybe to some degree going forward. And the defense is going to be lights out. I think we all believe it'll be easily a top 5 defense, no worse than a top 10 defense. So I think it's a matter of timing and money, and I think that's the root of it for the most part.
David, I know you've been moaning in the last couple of days, so give us some insight, to your thought process on why you think what happened, the transaction with Justin took place.
It took me a while to unpack everything, right? Because I was on the, listen, when it happened, I came out and I said I was wrong. Because I was on the side of keeping Justin and trading for the haul and creating that. I referred to it in my mind as something along the lines of the Herschel Walker trade and the way that steered the path for the Cowboys. I was hoping that the Bears were going to do something along that line. Okay, and we didn't. And I unpacked it. And, listen, I wasn't happy about it because, like you said, Glynn, there was just something about Justin that was unlike any other quarterback that I've seen in my lifetime with the Bears. And I've been a lifelong fan for 45 plus years. And, I've been through the Cade McNowns and the Rex Grossmans of the world. And these are first, and I'm using those two as examples because these are two guys we took in the first round. And right. I remember the hope at the time. There was hope at the time for both those guys. I know it seems absurd now, but we had nothing to do but hope because we hadn't taken a quarterback in the first round hardly ever. Like, I can't even think about it. So what I was thinking about while you were speaking, Glynn, I was thinking about, was that also a factor you think that Ryan Poles looked at the history of the Bears, looked at the scrutiny in recent history with Mitch Trubisky and how we were completely railroaded by the media because we didn't take Mahomes, we didn't take Watson, we traded up for a player that everyone in the world believed that we did not have to trade up for, that he would have been at 3, right? And and we were just, we were the object of ridicule in the media for a long time, and we have been. And then so here comes Caleb, and we have this, and Poles made this phenomenal deal with that put us in a position to get this player. That, I mean, a lot of people, they don't put 2 and 2 together. The Bears were not the worst team in the NFL last year. We have the number 9 pick. That's our pick. We fleeced the Panthers and got their pick. They were the worst team, and we have this opportunity. Now, we passed last year. Last year, there was a lot of, should we take Bryce? Should we take CJ? It was all speculation, right? I mean, nobody knew. Right. Nobody knew what was happening. But at the end of the day, I started to think, like you said, Glynn, Justin was taken by a previous regime. He was not, even though Poles and Warren clearly respect and had admiration for this young man and appreciate everything he had done for the franchise, he was not their pick. And I don't want to say that as if it's a detrimental statement, because it's not. But this is their step. Ryan Poles has done nothing but put his stamp on this team since the moment he got here. He inherited a terrible cap situation, bad contracts. It took years, a couple of years to get all that dead cap money and these aging players off our roster, the Khalil Macks and the Danny Trevathan's. And now he's built this squad. And the final, I guess, the final piece on the chessboard is his most powerful piece is a queen. I don't want to refer to Caleb Williams, but I'm saying to get his most powerful piece on the board.
Right.
And the consensus is Caleb Williams. And it's just too much for him to roll the dice and say, no, we're going to stick with Justin and pray, that I was looking at it and it was like, it was just too much. It was too much pressure to go with the guy that is the consensus number 1. And it's hard to swallow because I look at them both. I look at Justin and Caleb, and I know I'll get killed for this. I see different. I see a lot of the intangibles of the playmaking, the back, like the play breakdowns and making something happen. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of that. And then there's other things I see that are different between the two. And so I think his hand was forced. And I'm just curious, Glynn and Samo and Will, do you think that's what it all did? Like he just felt he had no choice?
No, Samo, did you want to chime in? I know we've been talking for the most part.
No, go ahead, Glenn. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
I don't think he felt forced. I've always felt that Poles was his own man. I think he proved that last year by trading down, even after Jalen Carter fell to him. Taking Jalen at 9 would have felt a lot better than taking him at 1. And he still traded down, and got something for it and took a right tackle. You don't often take a right tackle in the top 10. So that's what he wanted to do. And it worked out, obviously, in a lot of ways. So I believe that he's always been his own person. I'm disappointed that he didn't take the route, not just because, we said it or I said it. It just seemed in my mind, especially going off of what he said when he first got here, that he wanted to build the team through the draft. It seemed like this is a great opportunity to not only build through the draft for this year and next year, but maybe 2 other years down the line. And there's no way you can tell me in my mind that Justin wouldn't be better with going left to right, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, if you want to put Everett there, if Komet, and then if you trade down to 2 or 3, picking up Marvin Harrison Jr. You and I can stand back there in the pocket and throw underhand, and one of them guys is going to catch the ball. Not to mention you got a running back in Swift who can run routes and catch the ball too. And I thought that would have been, something that he could have felt confident in, on top of the fact being able to imbue this organization with enough armor to deal with the capriciousness of the NFL. And what I mean by that is attrition through injury, guys retiring, contract situations, just the unexpected. You'd have enough depth on your team and enough talented depth on your team to continue to deal with those issues as they arose, especially the unexpected ones, on top of that, still give yourself enough flexibility financially with your picks that you're accumulating and using to draft, because once those guys' contracts are up and 3-4 years down the line, if you're unable to sign them and you lose them to free agency, they still become compensatory picks. So it's still the gift that kept on giving. And I thought that was how he was seeing things. But to your question, I don't believe that he felt pressure from outside. I think he realized for himself, you know what, I'm going to do this in a manner that I can be expeditious, but still, it might be expeditious, expedite the winning. Because let's be real, he's been here for 2 years and he doesn't even have. He's got what, finally 10 wins, in 2 years. Or was it they were 7-10 and then 3 and what, 14 the year before? So that starts to hit that's on the GM's record, So I think the pressure was more of a internalized pressure. Like, I need to do something before someone says I need to do something. And I have an opportunity now to do it with the number 1 pick. And I can choose this because I don't have the number 2 pick. So I don't have to take what someone else doesn't take. I can choose my direction more, so I can be the captain of my ship. He went Invictus on me. He's going to be the captain of his own ship. He may be bloodied, but his head's not bowed, so to speak. And so I think that was where he went. It's just, I think a lot of us don't agree with it because we were more taken by what Justin went through. Again, as we talked about it earlier, just him as a person, how he persevered, how he endured, and we wanted to see him be rewarded for what he went through. And unfortunately, that it just didn't go that way. So yeah, man, I think Poles is still doing it his way. I don't think the pressure from the outside affects him so much. And as far as Justin going to Pittsburgh, I think, and Will brought it up earlier, he probably could have traded Justin a lot sooner. But I think Poles, whatever word he gave, whatever promise he gave to Justin and his people, I think he eventually at the end of the day honored that. Now, whether or not that helps out Justin, that I can debate because I don't think we'll see what happens. But I hope Justin gets a great situation.
I don't think it's the great situation he thinks it is, but that's just me. I think it's other couple of people. But there's one question I wanted to ask the group: do you all think that this was the master scenario that ultimately led to Justin being traded? What I mean by is, let's say Carolina wins a couple games and they inherit the 2nd or the 3rd pick. Therefore, we have the 2nd and 3rd pick. So that means Caleb's off the board. Obviously, he's going number 1 to whoever's there. Do you think that we still make this trade if the scenario is like, well, the Bears are going to have their pick between Jaden and Drake? You know what I mean? Or do you think we still do it? Or was Caleb the X factor, like the absolute X factor in this?
I think the number 1 pick was the X factor.
Okay.
So David, that's part of my question as well, is about the timing of all of this, because to me it says that the Bears are enamored with more than one of these quarterbacks because they don't have medicals on Caleb Williams. They've interviewed him once so far, and they really don't know what's coming before the draft. We can get some crazy news about Caleb right before the draft that could make it seem as if he's undraftable at that point to Chicago at the least. And so to me it says that they like more than one quarterback in this class, and they're comfortable with if they don't decide to go with Caleb Williams, then maybe there is a Jaden Daniels that they're extremely comfortable with, who to me is also just as good as Caleb, if you ask me, man. The kid has had an amazing career. I've seen him get better from year to year. I've seen him beat really good teams. I've seen him have everything that Flus talked about at the what was it, the combine, when he said, what does he look for in the quarterback? He talked about, 4th quarters, 3rd downs, and 2-minute drills. We've seen him succeed in all of those areas. We see him beat an Alabama team that was trying to win a conference championship, off of his legs on a 25-yard run, and then turn around and throw a 2-point conversion just 2 years ago, and which really gave Caleb the opportunity to win a Heisman Trophy at that point in time. So, like, to me, it just seems like the Bears decided to move on, and the timing was just crazy to me because we could have just waited up until the draft if we were only getting a 6th-round pick. So it just says to me like they didn't want to have those questions this week when they were at the pro day for Caleb Williams, hanging over their head. They wanted to get that out of the way, and that, you know, there is more than one quarterback that they might be interested in. So I think it's 90-10 maybe Caleb Williams, but I do think that there is more than one quarterback that they really like in this draft.
Yeah, I think they can. I think they feel comfortable enough that if for whatever reason something inexplicable happens and Caleb is someone that they cannot go to, that they could probably take Jaden Daniels, because Jaden, although not as big as Justin, is super stupid fast. You can just see that his acceleration is ridiculous, and he almost glides. Like he reminds me a little like Randall Cunningham, but faster. You know, and I say body type wise.
Comparison. It is a good comparison. Yeah.
And you know, he can whip the ball. You know, and he plays with a lot more confidence. He is decisive. Whatever he decides to do, he does it. It's interesting to me because when I look at these college quarterbacks, particularly this group, Caleb, phenomenal, 2022 season, wins the Heisman, had a Biletnikoff award-winning receiver he could throw to in Jordan Addison. This year, those weapons weren't there. Offensive line wasn't as good. He didn't look as good. And it's like, man, like, okay, what's the deal? You look at Drake May, 2022 season, better receivers around, better season. This year, not so much. Once Tez Walker got there, he looked a little bit better, but he struggled as well. You look at Jaden Daniels, he did pretty good, 2022 season, but this year those guys came back and he had Neighbors and Thomas Stream to throw to, and they both got over 1,000 yards. He wins the Heisman Trophy. So my point is, it's as good as these quarterbacks are, they still need help. And it's crazy to me because I'm like, so why don't you see the same thing that Justin went through? He literally had nobody around him. So, and when you see Justin, or when we saw Justin in college, he's throwing to Olave and Wilson, and he's killing folks. You know what I'm saying? And he looks like the talent that he is. His talent is able to take root and be able to play a bit more unfettered. But when you got chains wrapped around you and your hands are tied behind your back, you're not going to look as good. Same thing with Sam Howell. Sam Howell was putting up crazy numbers in North Carolina, and his year before he left, his junior year or his third year starting, both wide receivers went to the NFL. He had 2 wide receivers and went to the NFL, and 2 running backs and went to the NFL. The following year, he looked like hot garbage. That's why he fell all the way to the 5th round. So do the receivers make the quarterback? Quarterback make the receivers? I say it works hand in hand. You need both. And we saw Justin when he finally got a weapon, how he and that weapon connected to be one of the best tandems in the NFL. So it's weird, man. It's just weird. But I think Poles also realizes that, and that's why you see a veteran receiving core, because that's what it is. But here's my problem. Here's my problem. And it's the same problem the Bears had last year. Depth. You don't have enough draft capital right now, and you pretty much threw most of your free agency money to get the needed depth you have. I like DJ. DJ got banged up a little bit last year, and so did Cole. Our boy Fields ain't nobody to throw to. He looked pretty rough that last game. Keenan Allen has an injury history. He's 32 years old, Okay, he's going to be probably playing in a slot if we get a decent, receiver on the outside, or he's playing on the outside, whatever the case is. And he's not a speed burner, so he's going to be taking some hits when he makes the catches. He's a possession receiver for the most part. So we need him to stay healthy. And you need depth. Any one of those guys goes down, you got a rookie quarterback dealing with the same issues that Justin dealt with. So the tight end position seems better. The running back room seems like it's solid, like it was last year. Hopefully, this coordinator knows how to utilize everybody on the depth chart. But again, the offensive line, you need depth. We know Tevin's going to be injury prone. We hope that Nate Davis doesn't have a year like he did last year. We don't know about the new guys coming in. We'll see what they're like. And Braxton and our guy on the right side, Darnell, we got to hope that those guys stay healthy as well, because who's going to replace them when they go down? Larry Bourne is pretty much out the door right now. So who's your swing tackle at this point? And defensively. All right, hey, when Tez is playing, that defense, man, our front line looks active, baby. Okay, here we go. We're doing something, getting that pressure. Gervon's pushing the pile inward, and the guys in the secondary are back there picking off passes and looking all right. Oh, wait, Tez is hurt. Oh, shit. Okay, we ain't got no pressure now. Or Tez gets double teamed. We don't have anybody on the other side, or somebody up the middle gets knocked up because we don't have as much depth in the middle as we did last year, So Walker's going to be our rush guy. It's not going to happen. So we need to address that. And here's the other problem with not having enough draft picks to do that. What picks we do have left, and that's 1, 9, 75, and 122. Okay, that's just fourth round. Okay, late fourth round. So you got a first, 2 firsts, a third, a top third, and a bottom 4. You got to hit on them. Now we're going to assume that 1 you're hitting on because it's a quarterback. Okay, obviously you have to hit on that. And 9. You need to trade back, right? We want to get some more draft capital. Okay, who are you trading back with? Because to trade back means someone wants to trade up. What does someone want to give you capital wise to get at 9 that they may not, that they can probably get later on? Is it an edge rusher? They can wait for it. Is it a wide receiver? They can damn sure wait for that. I don't have to give you draft capital. Is it a tight end? There's only 1 first round tight end. So unless you're a tight end away from winning a championship, I don't see why you're trading up for a tight end. Is it a safety? Hell no. Safeties are falling back into the mid second, third, fourth round. Yeah. What position? Defensive tackle? You're struggling to have 2 interior defensive tackles this year in Newton and maybe Byron Murphy. You can probably wait because they're going to fall back because of the receivers, the offensive linemen, and the quarterbacks that are gone. No running backs a first round pick this year. So who the Bears trading back to is you got to have a trade partner. Who's going to give you the capital you need? Is it a defensive back? Maybe if you want the first defensive back off the board, maybe if you're the Eagles and you want Tyrion Arnold or you want Quinion Mitchell and you want to get him because that is a missing piece, maybe. So, I don't know that, or you can just sit back and wait and take Cooper DeJean, Nate Wiggins, so I don't know who I have to trade up to give the Bears, some capital that I can't just pick later on. And that's a problem. So the Bears may just end up using that 9th pick. Okay, great. Who's going to be there? Will Odunze be there? I don't know. Chargers probably going to take him now because they got rid of all the receivers. Hell, we got one of their receivers. Is it going to be Neighbors? He might be gone if the Giants don't take it. If the Giants don't take a quarterback, he may be gone before the Giants get there. Maybe the Falcons go ahead and take an edge rusher. That seems like it, but they can maybe turn around and surprise you. Maybe they take a wide receiver. So now what you do the 9th pick? You take your edge rusher. Okay, so maybe that's solid and you get a solid edge rusher. Cool, I'm down with that. But you need another receiver. You probably need 2 other receivers. So you got to wait till 75 to get one? Who are you getting at 75? Jermaine Burton from Alabama? Jalen McMillan from Washington? Tez Walker? I mean, it was a 4-3, but he was dropping every damn ball at the Senior Bowl. So are you comfortable with you good with that? Johnny Wilson? He's tall. He ain't explosive, but he's tall. Maybe it's Brendan Rice. Him and his boy hook up. Caleb Williams. That's a possibility. So you got to hit on it, though. That's my point. And I think that's where there's a big problem I also have with not doing the hauls we talked about to give yourself that margin for error.
And it's good that you mentioned that, Glenn, because, Justin's gone. When we controlled the chessboard, when Justin was here, and people say, well, the haul is Caleb. Man, look, I love Caleb as a talent. I think he's going to have a phenomenal career. But it's going to take time for that transition to come in. And like everybody's banking that he's going to be like Stroud. Like I'm going to be honest, I don't see it. But what I did see is that, like you said, with that number 1 pick and with the Commanders want to come up and give us everything in the kitchen sink. And then guess what? Once you move to 2, hypothetically, some other folks will want to come up. What I did see is that we could have, like you said, grabbed Marvin Harrison Jr. because I like Keenan Allen, but Keenan Allen's about to turn 32. Keenan Allen, he frequently gets injured. Tevin Jenkins, I love him when he's playing. Guess what? He's dominant, but he gets injured. Nate Davis, he got injured. That's why Tennessee, from what I was told, let him walk out of Tennessee. So the lack of depth is what killed us last year. And when you got people are just looking at names and things like that. When we start talking about the Hall, I'm looking at, okay, well, once those guys go out, are we gonna have some quality replacements to come in and at least maintain some steadiness for whoever? I don't care if it's Tyson Bagent playing quarterback, where they still got time to go through progressions and not be laying on their back from the immense pressure. So it's like people are so short-sighted in the grand scheme of things when now our assets have been diminished via trade. Because think about it. We traded a fifth for the guard we got from Buffalo. And then now we're down to 3 picks. And the only other pick realistically, and we probably could trade that 75th pick too, but you got to look at what our other team needs. And when you look at those teams, they are in position, Arizona, Chargers, and Giants, to go Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, and Roma Dunn, because all of them need wide receivers. None of them have wide receivers. So that bodes well for us at 9 because we still need an edge. So Jared Verse and or Dallas Turner or Latu will be there at 9, but that means we'll have to trade down to acquire some additional picks. But what if teams in the second round now don't need that player of need beforehand when we control the chessboard? Because like you just stated earlier, you still have to find a trade partner at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it's like people don't understand that one move, the cataclysmic effect that it had on a subsequent move that it could have gave us all. Like when I say us acquiring all this capital, whether it be in 2024 and 2025, the one thing I appreciate what Houston did last year, they took future capital, came back into current year and traded back up. And what did they do? They got Stroud and Anderson back to back. Well, if we got future first, well, we could trade back into 2024. Not only do you get the wide receiver, not only do you get the edge, but then you're putting yourself in play to go get JPJ between 15 and 25 because you got that extra pick to dangle with a team right there in that area. Will be like, yeah, we'll give up this pick for you to come back in, and you go pick wherever you want, because at the end of the day, everybody wants to build through the draft and keep the cap situation where it needs to be, but also that ensures that they have a quality product. Because at the end of the day, this is all entertainment. So if you got a quality product where myself, you, David, Samo, all of us stay engaged, like when we were 3-14 and Justin was out there doing 70-yard runs and 65-yard runs, but we still lost because the level of talent wasn't there to compete with the other team we were playing. But now we're at the point where if we could have continued to control this draft board and got these additional picks in the first 2 rounds this year, we probably could have accumulated close to 6 to 7 picks off that number 1 pick, and therefore not only built with premium players, but we could have had backup players in the event Tevin goes down. Christian Mahogany could have been right there in the event that Davis goes down. Like, the guy from Oregon State would have been right there. We'd have had flexibility to go in which direction we wanted to go. But now we're limited now, even with free agency, but also with only now 3 picks. Because if we don't, and again, guys, at this point, we're not Caleb Williams haters. I like Caleb Williams. When I watched him, he's ultra talented. But at the end of the day, there is going to be a transition. And Kerry Franklin, we are looking good. Look, we're not saying Justin. We're not sitting here doing a eulogy for Justin. What we're saying is, see people so short-sighted. They it's like their way or no way. And I'm like, there are multiple scenarios to continue to improve this organization. So now we have to look at in the space right now, because a lot of people, we don't want Jaden Daniels, but if Caleb's medicals don't meet the criteria of what we're looking for, I can assure you, Jaden Daniels and or Drake May will be in play. Whether we like it, whether you in the chat like it, and it's so many variables behind the scene that even though everyone now is proclaiming Caleb, which again, I hope Caleb is the pick because national media, Chicago media, scouts, everybody has proclaimed this kid to be the next Patrick Mahomes. But guess what? Patrick Mahomes wasn't the next Patrick Mahomes until he came to the league. He set for a year behind Alex Smith. And he had Andy Reid. Mm-hmm. So he had the right infrastructure, not to mention Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce.
We don't have that infrastructure, Will. We don't have that. We don't have that luxury.
Yeah, we're
got to come in and win now.
We're getting there. But if you look at the variables, like right now, it's like, okay, well, it gives Pose some extra time because a lot of people say it's job security. A lot of people say we want to reset the rookie contract. And guess what? All of that might be true. But at the end of the day, if this move doesn't pan out, and in the next 3 years we find ourselves in the same position, it's going to be a lot of slow singing and a lot of flower bringing. And 1920 had it all. That's all I can say.
Yeah, you're right.
I agree with all that, man. I think you're spot on, Will. I just think tomorrow's going to be really interesting, because Poles and Flus, they're at the pro day tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. And I was reading earlier, not only the pro day, but they're going to conduct some psychiatric tests on Caleb as well. I mean, they got to see if he's got it up here. And I won't lie, I that kind of scares me. I've been watching a lot of interviews with this kid, and he's got. Listen, I grew up in LA, and I know that he's not from LA. I know he's from Washington. But I grew up in that USC den, and it sounds, to me, he has got that vibe, that way about him, that very LA way about him. I can see that he likes that lifestyle. So
that's okay.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think we've got Chicago's a big city too, but I hope he's the pick because I hope he's the pick because if he's not, then we've got to hope that Jaden is the guy. Because we've got to hope that one of these guys, because what bothers me the most about this offseason is the 4 draft picks. Like you said, Glynn, just having those, that's it, just 4. I'm thinking I'm almost setting myself up to prepare for 1 and 9, because like you said, we don't have a draft order, and then turning it off and then just reading about the rest of the draft. You know what I mean? And just turning it off and reading about the rest of the draft and telling Will and Swift and Samo, text me if we make a trade because I can't even watch it.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you,
we don't care.
Jerry.
Yo,
Thanks, Swift.
hey, Caleb is the pick, guys. Switch it up. Caleb is the pick.
Okay,
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Caleb is going to be the pick as well.
But that's what I'm saying, Swift. I'm relegating myself to prepare that he's the pick, and then that's it. We got 3 more picks, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah, I don't think, and if I may, right quick, athletically on the field, what he can do, I think the Bears, and by that I mean Poles and his crew were convinced that this guy is an NFL talent, no doubt. I mean, you're talking about number 1 pick. We're not talking about can this kid, be drafted at all? So he's a number 1 pick. So the talent is there. I think Bear fans, and again, part of it is because, like I said earlier, we're so entrenched with a type of attitude we expect our players to have as Chicagoans. I don't care what the sport is. I think one of the reasons why, and Frank Thomas, and good dude, I enjoy. Talking to him, all those things. Frank's a good guy, but I think sometimes Frank didn't come off to some fans or as endearing to some fans because there are times where he may have been a bit surly or sullen, and it was like he didn't complain, but there seemed to be like a passive aggressive complaint, so to speak, as opposed to Jordan and Peyton, where you didn't see that at all. It was no question, above reproach. And I think the issue with Caleb is we fans see someone, he gets chided too much for having a human moment. When he lost to Notre Dame, he went into the stands with his mom, whatever. And look, we're going to see a lot of guys crying for the next couple of weeks during the tournament. Okay, guys have that human moment when something means something to them, and so much so that it gets emotional. We don't know what was going on in Caleb's mind that day. You don't know if there was something with his family going on. You don't know if having a chance to win 2 Heismans meant that much to him, whatever the case might be. If he did that all the time, okay, he just had a human moment. That's fine. But people see that and they're like, man, I don't know if I want to do it. In the fingernails thing, people, I don't know. People focus too much on ancillary stuff that doesn't really matter. And so I think that's why Caleb's reception isn't as received as well by the non Caleb people, or the more so the Justin people, so to speak. They're kind of like looking for flaws. And I think it's like, we should be beyond that. We should be looking for, okay, Caleb's going to be the pick. We see what the Bears are doing. Where do we go on from here? And my concern has been, as it always has been, just having a better structure. So whoever the quarterback is, whether it's Caleb, whether it was Justin, whether it was Will Wright, whether it was Swifty, whether it was Donald Ruiz, whether it was Samuel, whoever, whether it's my 6-year-old grandson, whatever the case might be, I wanted a better structure in place. So this is how Poles feels he has to, create whatever he has before Caleb gets here, so he can better be able to acclimate, with less pressure, so to speak, less problems, less issues than what Justin and previous quarterbacks had. And I think we've seen that happen. We were getting excited, before Justin got traded. We had, oh man, we got Keenan Allen. You started to see it happen. So that's fine. So just take, Justin is removed from this now. So Caleb is the person who's inheriting this. I think some fans are like, he seems a bit entitled. He seems a bit narcissistic. I don't know if I like him. It don't matter if you like him. It just matters, can he play ball? That's what we need to get. Because once he starts playing ball, you're probably going to like him. I think if Caleb has any issue, if there's anything Caleb has to contend with, the biggest hurdle initially is going to be the locker room. That's the thing Caleb has to win first. Before he wins any games on the field, he's going to have to win the locker room. And he can't, I'm not trying to be disingenuous or dismissive or divisive when I say he can't buy them. Caleb made comments before how he takes care of his guys. When you're in college and you're making millions of dollars and your friends aren't, you can take care of everybody because they can't, they don't have the same wherewithal you do. Now you're in the pros, bro. These guys have been making money and they're grown men with families. You can't take care of them. You need to come in and win games. So he needs to win the locker room, and it's not going to be, he's not going to fool anybody. Like as Damian Woody always says on the early morning show, he's like, hey, you can't fool the players. The players are going to know. So that's the first win Caleb has to get before he steps out on the field. He's going to have to win that locker room.
And winning cures all things, like you said. So hopefully, we can come in and hit the ground running. And the Bears have put that infrastructure in place for him. And I think that's why, as fans that were in support of Justin Fields, we kind of got a little bit upset about it, but we're moving on. And like I said, I do believe that Caleb, or that poll, sees Caleb as the wild card, because he passed up on the Hall an opportunity to build an amazing team with depth for the wild card and the quarterback who he probably sees as generational as well. And we have to sort of trust that because he was also there with Patrick Mahomes and he saw, the evaluation process there as well. So maybe he's seeing something similar. So, hey, I'm on board for that. I will say that. My problem is that he misplayed this hand and kind of lost control of the draft in a sense, because we're going from 1 to 9, and like you said, we're looking for a trade partner to come up so that we can get more draft capital to continue to build around the kid. But I do really like the infrastructure that they put in place as far as the offensive coaching staff is like none that we've ever seen before. And we know we're the proven play caller, a proven quarterback developer in Shane Waldron. And the weapons that we now have on offense is not like anything we've seen since Matt Forte and Brandon Marshall and freaking Armstrong Jeffrey. So, we're seeing that improvement on the team. So he's being put in position to be successful, which just seems like they know that they have to do that to cater to Caleb. And hey, I'm all for that, man. And you talked about his bravado, man, and I love that cockiness. I'm gonna love that because we saw that from Michael Jordan. We just watched an entire series and learned about Michael Jordan being cocky and and just ripping people's hearts out night after night, and letting them know that I'm gonna rip your heart out. All right, when I see you, shaking hands, smiling. The next night, hey, we got a game. I'm coming to kill you. All right, I'm going to drop 40 on you and let them know about it. So I don't mind any of that. As far as his personality goes, man, I hope the kid just comes in and he just rips it up because he's going to be our quarterback, barring some crazy character assassination thing that comes out. But I think that my only problem is that we lost draft capital and now we have so many holes to fill.
Got to be hit it.
And
we got to hit.
We only have 4 draft picks, and we have to hit. We have to hit on those first 3 picks. And if we have to hit on those first 3 picks and hope that there's someone there at 75, because like Will said, if there's a dominant pass rusher there at 9, I don't know how we pass that guy up. And that might be the first pass rusher off the board. How do we pass up on a Jared Verse? That's going to be hard to do and to move back, maybe have to move back all the way to the late teens or the 20s and hope that someone falls to us. So, it's just like we lost our hand. It's just like we misplayed our hand of some sort. Yep. We lost all of the leverage. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And I think that's the part that a lot of this fan base, they don't look at, because everybody keeps saying Caleb is the Hall. But do we want Caleb to come in and have to be Superman because the infrastructure is not in place the way it needs to be? Like, he really needs to come in with the line like lockstep, with his wide receivers, ready to go, healthy, and all pieces in place. Because if not, guess what? It's going to be wash, rinse, repeat. Because Caleb isn't built like Justin to take that type of impact, that type of physical pain, where the interior defensive linemen are just shooting the gaps, or the edge rushers are coming off and just hammering him. Like, I don't care who you are. After a while, you start to get PTSD. I don't know if I think it was David Carr. He said he started seeing ghosts when realistically the protection was there, but he got sacked that 1 year 76 times. It was like he started seeing things that wasn't there. So he didn't go through his full progression because he thought he was about to get hit. So it's okay in college to say Superman and all that good stuff against the Pac-12 defenses, but even the worst team we play on our schedule next year, which I think is Carolina. Carolina has a dominant defense. Like, I'm not going to say
signed everybody and their mama.
and we played Washington too, and Washington defense has improved. So at the end of the day, it's like the fan base needs to look at the overall macro level of this thing and stop saying, "Oh, Justin fans." Like, no, at the end of the day, we're looking at how we could have better overall continue to improve this organization. And man, look, I would love to would have had Caleb, but also Justin, because I feel Justin is a phenomenal athlete, and I feel like Pittsburgh fleeced us again after they did with Chase Claypool. And now, if Russell flares out, they're gonna slide Justin in. Like, I'm really anticipating him to go out there with Arthur Smith and just take off. So no one's hoping that Caleb has a bad year. And I laugh when people say, "Oh, you don't know ball." Like, you don't know ball, nor do you know business. So at the end of the day, when you sit up here and, on your mom's couch, catching these aspersions and don't have a clue of what you're talking about, like, we don't look, Swift, you need to put up our great Stephen A. Smith meme. Like, we don't care about the ignorance that you all spew. So, hey, guys.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you.
We don't care.
Jerry.
Go ahead, Glynn.
I was going to say, the whole situation in Pittsburgh. You asked earlier about it, and I apologize I didn't respond. Justin in Pittsburgh, and I think David was also kind of shaking his head like we don't know if it's necessarily the best situation. I think psychologically it's the best situation for him. I'm not saying that Justin is in any kind of disarray or distress about not being in a Bear any longer. I say in terms of just being in a place where you're going to be, people are going to invest in you to some degree. People are going to have your interests more so actively at heart. And Tomlin has mentioned that. We earlier talked about that Tomlin feels a lot of times coaches run away from coaching. So I don't believe Tomlin is going to be one of those coaches or have his coaches do that. The problem, however, is that, you know, you have a Super Bowl winning quarterback ahead of you, a guy who's been to, you know, has over 100, I think he has 115 wins to his credit. I think he's plus 43 in terms of wins and losses. That means something. He knows how to play the game. Now, his last 3 seasons, Russell, he had losing records for the teams that he quarterbacked. But there's situations, and you can look at that and see how that played into it as well. But you're talking about a guy who got into great shape last year. He's 36 years old. He's never had a serious injury, so he can still maneuver. He may not be the Russell in his 20s and 30s, but, you know, I shouldn't say 30s, in his 30s now, but, you know, 20s, early 30s. But he still put up pretty decent numbers on a team where the coach didn't even want him. He still had 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, which is career. He's been doing that. So when you have Russ coming in, and I know Pittsburgh says he's a starter, we'll see what happens. But even with that being the case, because both quarterbacks are coming into a situation with new teammates and a new offensive coordinator, whoever is deemed the starter early on is going to get the majority of the reps. And I don't see Russ playing so poorly that Justin is just going to necessarily beat him out. Justin still has a lot to learn as a quarterback. There's some things that Justin, reasons why he's not with a Bear, are problems that still need to be addressed and fixed. And that's, you know, going across the middle more confidently and consistently and productively and efficiently, and also getting rid of the ball a little bit quicker. Issues that Russell doesn't necessarily have. Russell's experience as a veteran, and I think Russell also has an agenda too. Now, Russell's only getting $1.2 million this year. He understands that, but, you know, he's at 39 or 37 plus in the bank. That's fine. But Russ wants to go to the Hall of Fame. So Russ needs to win. And Russ is the reason why Russ picked Pittsburgh. That's a good vehicle for, I mean, Pittsburgh went 10-7 with a crap ass, you know, offensive coordinator. A coordinator came in halfway through the season to help out with crap ass quarterback play. They still went 10-7 in toughest division in all of football. So with Russ's statistics from last year, or if he was the quarterback, you figure it's at least worth 2 more wins, different situations. So Pittsburgh has to be going into the mindset, along with Russell, thinking that they can win 11, 12 games. Okay, if they're doing that, Justin's not getting out there. He ain't getting 51% of the snaps. And if I'm Pittsburgh, I don't know if I want to give Justin 51 because I don't want to come off a 4th round pick in 2025.
And Glynn,
so
just to the point. The higher the pressure of the situation of the game, the less time, the better Russell plays. And I think that's why that I think they're counting on him to beat Russell in the playoffs positions, and they know that they've got to be better at quarterback to beat Baltimore. They know it. And he's the guy, like, if it's a 2-minute drill, raining, ugly, and you need a field goal and you need to go 60 yards,
you can do it.
Russell Wilson has shown that the more pressure, that man has ice in his veins. He's not scared of the moment. So
especially with a talented team around him now.
Yeah, and they've got a talented team.
Yeah, especially with a more talented team.
Yeah.
So so where does Justin improve? That's my question. Does Justin really, you know, you can kind of improve through osmosis and through practice, but you're not getting the reps. You know, we might see Justin play more in preseason, maybe, but that's not going to be enough. And he's in his last year, so they're not going to franchise tag a backup. And you're not going to automatically right now take his 5th-year option unless you're saying to Russell, we don't want you next year. We're just using you this year. You don't want to send that message. And it's you're jumping up from $6 million to 20-something million for Justin on the guy you haven't even seen in your building yet, learn the offense or whatever. So my point is, to what Will was saying, Justin may find himself as a journneman. You know, he might find himself trying to get a Baker Mayfield deal, you know, where Justin becomes a free agent after the end of next year or next season. And then he's out trying to get, you know, a $10 to $15 million contract, whatever, to try and compete for a job on some team that needs a starting quarterback. I don't know who that team is. I can't necessarily foresee who that team may be, but that's a tough space to be in. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that's what Justin wanted, but we also know Tomlin really likes Justin, and you never know how a season plays out. The only way I see Justin getting a lot of snaps and play to convince Pittsburgh is if Russell has a serious injury and he's gone for the majority of the season. So I get Pittsburgh, like you said, Will, Pittsburgh pennies on the dollar. I mean, they got 2 dynamic quarterbacks for under $10 million. That is phenomenal. And they have an opportunity to – they're probably the 4th or 5th best team in the AFC right now, without the draft even have happened yet. And they're going to be able to compete. And I don't see – there's no team in the AFC that's – if I'm Pittsburgh, that scares me. There isn't. There's not one team there that scares me. They can respect the Ravens. I don't think they're scared by them. They see them every year, so there's a healthy respect there. Kansas City is a great winning team, but they didn't dominate everybody on the way to win the Super Bowl. So they are beatable. So I don't see Pittsburgh, you know, kowtowing anybody. I think they put themselves in positions to legitimately compete. So great for them. I just don't know how great it is for Justin on a career level. But I think being around that type of infrastructure with Pittsburgh, I think it can go places. I think it can potentially help him, like I said, psychologically, and we'll see what happens in terms of his career. But I don't know. I don't see like this clear pathway at this point.
So my question, Glenn, go ahead, Sam. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, hopefully that, you know, he has some opportunities to sit back and learn some things from Russell and from the coaching staff there, because I think you're right, Glenn. It's like after this, it's like you're hoping for an opportunity to become a bridge quarterback the next year. If you don't get an opportunity to play this year, and Russell goes in there and balls out, then Pittsburgh's probably going to re-sign that kid, re-sign him, and where does that leave Justin? So
that's what I was thinking. You know, there's already talk online that Russell and Pittsburgh have had preliminary talks about an extension, and I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's true, but if we go onto Twitter, if we go into X one day and we see Russell Wilson signs a 3-year, $150 million deal like that, dude, Justin's there for a year and he's out. He's going to test the market. I mean, because what is he going to? Why would he stay in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, he's 26, 25 years old.
Yeah, he's 25. And I'm sure there's a lot of coaches out there that would be licking their chops to have a player with like him and bring him in under their wing. I could see that happening. That he just kind of like does, like, he's in the background. He doesn't do anything this year. He gets some practice reps. He learns behind a future Hall of Famer coach and a future Hall of Fame quarterback. He learns. And then he gets a taste of winning, because he's going to be in a winning culture. He's going to go to the playoffs.
That would be nice.
I mean, I'm just saying that he's going to get a taste of a winning culture, and he's going to gain even more maturity, and he's going to go, and somebody's going to throw some, a lucrative deal at him with incentives at him. I feel that'll happen, but
New Orleans. Going to New Orleans after this.
New Orleans wouldn't surprise me, as long as he stays out the division, Glenn. I don't want him going to Minnesota. I don't want him going to Minnesota.
Hey, that's what I was getting ready to say before Samo was speaking. Like, it would be crazy if, Pittsburgh know they're going to extend Russell Wilson, and Minnesota, I can't get up to the top 3 spot to get either top 4. To get either J.J. McCarthy, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, or Caleb Williams. So guess what? F it. I'm going to send a second round to Pittsburgh for Justin. And now you got Justin, Jordan, and Jones. And, man, that would be sick, guys.
Absolutely. Swifty, hit him. Swifty, we can't go down this path. Hit him with the.
I'm here to tell you right now. We don't care.
Let me tell you.
We don't care.
Jerry.
That would be great for the NFL, though. Hey, guys, it's entertainment, right? Justin versus Caleb 2 times a year? Come on, guys.
The NFL would love that. The NFL would love that narrative. But, I do want to switch gears here, guys, because we're talking about a lot of Justin. But I do want to just say, Caleb Williams has to be coming into probably the greatest rookie situation team-wise I've ever seen.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a rookie quarterback come in with the team like in place, waiting for him to say, "Here's the reign." I mean, Glynn, I know you're thinking, what
Peyton was pretty close.
you really?
He
Well,
had Marvin
okay,
Harrison and Marshall Faulk
ah,
in a decent line.
but he didn't have the defense. That defense was trash.
No,
When he was a rookie.
Dungy was there. The defense was okay. I mean, Peyton struggled. I think he went through what 28, 26,
He threw
28
28 interceptions. Yeah, he was crazy
So
amount
he looked
of
like a
interceptions.
rookie. He looked
Yeah.
like a rookie.
I
And
just
yeah,
don't. But I just don't think from a. I think Harrison and Marshall were still very they were still very I want to say young in their career. Where I'm like we're always saying but coming into a situation where he's got Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett, and he's got Swift to hand off to with Herbert and Johnson, and then you got DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. Thank you, Swift. Yes,
Solid.
yes, number 4. I mean, to me, it's just got to be so tantalizing. That's what I'm excited about. It's almost as if I keep thinking about Ryan Poles saying we're going to build through the draft, and he did. And he did his thing on draft night for the last couple of years. But part of me is thinking that Ryan's like, yo, I got to win now, and I need veteran leadership. I need veteran players to get those dubs.
Right.
And that's why I think he's got one more move left in him. I don't know what he's going to do, but I think there's going to be one more whoa move. I'm just saying. I think there's going to be one more to finalize the setting for when Caleb comes in and we say, "Here you go." That's just
we
the way
all hope you're right, David. We all hope you're right. That's all I can say.
Look, hey, y'all saw what Philadelphia's asking for Hassan Reddick?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they're asking for the house and the keys to go with it. Yeah. The house and the new car. That's crazy. He's
Like,
not. He's also not a fit.
Hey, and I look at Jeff Lurie because they say he's the best GM, but man, the last year and a half, like his whole model has failed. I'm talking about collapse. But I know that Ian has that relationship with the Eagles, so maybe we can fleece them for Hassan Reddick for that fourth that we got. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
Well,
that's not gonna happen.
So I don't think so, Will.
No,
and I also don't think that Flukes will be interested in Hassan Reddick just because of his size, man. Hassan Reddick is not a really big guy. I would love it to happen, but just the defense just hasn't done that in the past. And to your point, David, man, about Fluke, about Ryan Poles saying that he wants to build through the draft. I don't know. Has he really done that though? Because this team, if we look at the team on defense, we have a few players, but we also have a few veterans on defense. We have those veteran. I guess we do. We just have the linebackers that we signed, and the secondary is all young. But other than that, like, where else did we really build through the draft? We have one offensive lineman. We have in the secondary. That's it. Like, he hasn't really built this team through the draft. Everywhere there's a journeyman that's come from somewhere else that we signed as a free agent. So, he's kind of that's what's crazy to me. Is like he went against his own philosophy to me for Caleb Williams in this situation when he had the opportunity to build through the draft here, like Will said, and trade back and accumulate all those draft picks and build a 49ers type team that was basically quarterback proof, allow Justin and to get the proper evaluation on Justin Fields. I'm moving on from it, but I just had to say that, I think David gave Poles a little bit too much credit for me, and I wasn't going to let that slide.
I'll take it, Samuel. I'll take. You know why? Because I think about guys like Kyler. I think about guys like Dexter. I think about Pickens. I think about Darnell
Big
and
Dex.
Brisker. Brisker. I think about those guys and yeah, and guys like Roshan's a good piece in the back. Obviously we have our issues with Tyler Scott, but
he hasn't drafted a good wide receiver yet, or I
no,
shouldn't say good. He hasn't drafted a productive wide receiver.
Productive wide receiver, yeah. I agree.
He hasn't drafted a productive offensive player other than a right tackle.
Exactly.
If we think about it, so that's the only productive offensive player he's drafted. He hasn't signed one either that we've seen play other than DJ Moore. Yeah, okay.
We traded.
We'll say
Yeah,
DJ. We
traded
traded for DJ Moore.
We just traded for him.
Right.
So isn't that just the way though? But that's just the Chicago Bear way. We have yet to draft our own superstar in a while.
True.
On the offensive side of the ball. But I mean, I thought, to me, Alshon Jeffrey was the closest. Alshon Jeffrey was the closest thing to it, and then we couldn't even keep him happy and couldn't keep him, and he went elsewhere and won a Super Bowl. Everything else is like we always trade for those guys: Marty Booker, Brandon Marshall, Mushin Muhammad. I mean, DJ Moore. I want us to draft our own. I want us to draft our own Justin Jefferson, please.
Yeah,
can we do it? Not
this year. Probably
not this year. Exactly. Not this year.
I know, Glenn.
I know it sounds like a broken record, but if you had traded down, you would have been able to do that.
And that's my thing. I'm like, look, if you'd have declined the 5th-year option and then things didn't work out, well, next year we get Shadur Sanders. Like, honestly, I think he would have been a better fit for the offense.
Yeah, but look at his dad. His dad's already saying, I don't want my son playing in the cold.
No.
Look at him. I know what I'm talking about.
I don't pay that no attention. And he wanted his son to be number one. And right now, unless the kid out of Arkansas, we've been monitoring him, DeVar Green, he transferred from Boise State. But, I don't think the quarterback talent is rich as it is this year, but it was a couple of guys that you could have plugged in a ready-made system, with all the pieces we would have had drafted through actual draft capital that, man, would have made us a force to be reckoned with. Now we got to bank on the offensive side of the ball. We got to bank on Caleb making up for those holes. And that's what people got. That's a lot of pressure on a rookie quarterback transitioning, learning how to work under center. Learning how to work in that controlled environment where we can maximize and optimize his talent for the offense that Shane Waldron wants to run. We had
Glynn. I'm sorry, Glenn, but Glenn, do we have any film at all from Oklahoma to USC of Caleb taking a snap under center? Is he 100% shotgun?
It's 90+%. By 90 plus, I think I want to say like 97, 98%. I mean, that's something he's gonna have to learn how to do. I mean, that's why you have a coach, and your coach needs to be worth their salt, and that's why you have a veteran team around you. And here's the thing, hopefully he has a center that doesn't make the quarterback have to play center field or shortstop.
Thank you.
Because that'll help too on your time.
Right.
We talk so much, and you guys mentioned a couple of times when you talk about Justin Jefferson. And I thought about it. It's like we talk so much about the rookie quarterback contract. Let's not forget about the rookie wide receiver contract, because outside of the quarterback, the rookies are eating up the next biggest percentage of the cap pie. And Justin Jefferson is going to cost Minnesota a lot of money, just like Tyreek had to leave Kansas City. Okay, just like Chase is probably going to be the reason why T. Higgins may not be in Cincinnati next year. That you got to pay these receivers big time money. A.J. Brown had to get big money. Tennessee let him cut him loose where they had to pay him. So getting somebody like Marvin Harrison Jr. would give us a rookie wide receiver contract that nobody talks about if you're able to trade back down. And you get that guy for 5 controllable years at a good cost. Because here's the other thing. DJ's contract's coming up in 2020 at the end in 2 years. You're gonna have to pay him or let him go.
And what did he say? Hey, Glenn, when he said business. That's what he meant. Business is business. You're not getting the wholesale discount, baby. Business is business. If you want me to stay here, business is gonna be like people are like, oh, that didn't mean no. You got to understand the meaning of what he was saying, because deep down inside, DJ Moore thought Justin was gonna be his quarterback.
Yep.
Like he articulated that numerous times publicly at the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Numerous times with 670 to score. Like he didn't shy away from that.
No, I mean, dude has had like what 6 or 7 quarterbacks in
So
his
guess
4
what?
or 5-year career.
And he had his best year, 13-48, and Justin missed 4 games,
Missed
4 and a
4 games.
half, 4 and a half. So again, we need 2 more. Well, at least 2 wide receivers, maybe 3.
Yeah.
Because Keenan might be on a 1-year run. I haven't seen anything about an extension. Like people don't and this is what's so laughable to me, because at the end of the day, first and foremost, the locker room built some crazy cohesion. Like if you watch these guys, the way they operated within that locker room, I'm telling y'all, man, like it was something special. So if the locker room, even though they're professionals, they make a lot of money, but they're still human though. That's what people fail to realize. Like it's entertainment for us, but like those are your brothers in that locker room, and you got people that have never played Pop Warner football, so they don't know what that looks like. You got people that just sit back and talk, and they need to shut up and play. Like no, they got feelings and emotions too. So if they feel like their brother was wrong, if they feel like, oh well, now, like I got to look at this as a business because my contract is up, or I could be traded overnight. I have no control over that.
And a lot of these guys have what left, Will? 2 years left on their deal.
Yes.
Someone. So Caleb, when is this winning going to happen? And when it starts to happen, who's still going to be left? And what capital do you have to replace the guys that are leaving? And you're not getting compensated for all these free agent signings. You don't get compensatory picks when your free agents leave.
Right.
You get them when you draft a player, and then they move on to free agency, but you don't get it. It's like when you get a house. You got a house, tax time comes around, you're going to get money back. You out renting at an apartment, tax time comes around, you ain't get no money. You want to sell your house? You can do that. You want to sell your apartment? You don't own it. You can't sell it.
Absolutely.
So,
yep. Which goes back to me saying that he misplayed his hand. He absolutely misplayed his hand, and he didn't stick to his own guns and say that I'm going to build this thing through the draft, because this was the opportunity to do that. So my question to you now that we just talked about, the need for a wide receiver and wide receivers being paid. If there is a Rome Odunze or a Malik Neighbors sitting there at 9, so happen to fall for any reason, do you take them over one of those pass rushers?
I do, because of what we talked about. Allen is not going to be here very long. He's a truncated time with his contract, and he's getting up there in age. And then, if you're not able to re-sign DJ, you want to have somebody that with the time that DJ and Allen are here has learned enough so that he can move up to be that number 1 prospect. And you want to get as high a talented wide receiver as you possibly can. And Odunze and or Neighbors look to be those type of guys. Now, this is deep wide receiver class, no doubt. I'm not saying you can't get a wide receiver later on. I just ran through a list of them that you can probably get with the 4th pick. I'm sorry, with the 3rd pick. How soon can any of those guys ascend to be the primary target? I don't know. I feel better with Odunze or Neighbors ascending to that a lot more quickly than the guys that I mentioned. Conversely, with an edge rusher, Tez is going to be here for a while. So you need an edge rusher. He doesn't have to be a dominant one on the other side, but someone that has the athleticism and the ability to learn and improve, so that in 2 years, 3 years, maybe he is that dude, but you still have him and Tez together. So I think it's a little more. And then our issues traditionally have always been on offense as a Chicago Bear. And on defense, they're pretty much more fortified than the offense is. And also rebuilding defenses generally is a lot easier than it is offenses. Offenses, you need specificity of skill, you need a timing. There's a lot of different things that go into that. And it's so interdependent on the offense. The football is a sport, the interdependency is there. But the quarterback position is the most important, but also the most interdependent position out there. After that is probably wide receiver, because you need the blocking, you need the timing, you need the synergy between the quarterback and the wide receiver, all the routes, all those things. And you want to have that with a capable receiver who has ability, because here's the thing, it's not different when you're the second guy as opposed to the primary guy. I've seen wide receivers. I'll take right example. I look at the Dallas Cowboys back when they had Michael Irvin and Alvin Harper, and they were killing fools. It was hard to stop those guys. And Alvin was the more athletic of the two, 6'4", 6'5", about 220, ran a 4.4. He took that big money to become the number one guy in Tampa, and then that was it. You didn't hear about him no more. So jumping from 1 to 2, or from 2 to 1 is a lot different than being the number 2 receiver. So someone like Odunze, who's used to being a 1 in college, he can come in as a 2 or 3 or whatever and learn, and he has the ability to ascend to be their primary target. So if you have an opportunity to take him at 9, I think you should do so.
Let's hope we have that opportunity then, because right now, we're
neighbors.
not sitting in a pretty situation, because DJ Moore's contract is up in 25. Like we just said, Keenan McCardell is on the 1-year contract right now. So, and we don't know how long it's going to take for Caleb Williams to really get things going as far as the season goes. It may take him 4, 5, 6 games before he actually starts picking it up and, hitting these guys in stride and, running the offense efficiently. And we just talked about relationships and business being business. So, man, I think that's also something to consider when we look at these guys going into contract seasons, and now they have to play with a rookie quarterback, and try to bring him along as fast as they can so that they can get the best deal they can. Because Keenan McCardell, who had 1,300 yards last year, is now looking at playing with a rookie quarterback, and maybe his production drops, and our players going to feel like Ryan Poles put them in the best position for themselves to be successful at that point in time, because you went and got me this rookie quarterback, and we don't know if Keenan thought that he was coming in to play with Justin or not, or
I don't think he really cared.
All right, yeah. But we do know that DJ cared. And like we said, he had his most productive year with Justin missing 4 games and his production dropping during those 4 games and so forth. So, I just hope everything works out.
I think it's a lock that one of the two fall to 9. I'm just looking at the draft board, and I'm looking at the moves that are getting ready to be put in place. I mean, let's be honest, fellas. Minnesota's about to put together a ridiculous package with the 11th and the 23rd pick, and probably stuff for next year to move up to get one of those quarterbacks. I mean, I think 4 of the top 5 picks will be the quarterbacks. I do. I think I'm sorry. I am here. Personally, I'm not a huge fan, but I mean, it's just, I think, May and Daniels obviously go after Caleb, but I think there are teams in that top 8 and below, like the Denvers and the Minnesotas, that like JJ McCarthy. I know that do. And I think that one of them is going to move up out of desperation to get him, because after that, I look at teams like, listen, we know the Chargers are going to take a wide receiver. I mean, the Chargers have no choice. Mike Williams gone, Keenan's gone, Eckler's gone. I mean, Justin Herbert's at home in the fetal position right now. He's got nobody to throw to and the ball off to. I mean, the Giants to me are going to make a decision. They're either going to take Rome or Malik. And then
they could take JJ. They might take JJ.
They might. But then Tennessee, dude, listen, Joe Alt. They just said, they're going to want to protect Will Levis. And they got 2 wide receivers. They just gave that ridiculous contract to Ridley, and then they got Hopkins, and then you got the Falcons, who are stacked at the wide receiver position, and they're finally got a quarterback that's going to use the tight end. Kyle Pitts is super happy right now because he's finally going to get the ball. So there you have Chicago, which I'm thinking, there's no way. I don't feel there's no way that Malik Neighbors or Rome don't fall to 9. I just think there's too many factors. So, and that's when it's going to be a tough decision, because Swift has talked about this. Will and I have talked about this, and it's like, we're going to have to make it, listen, do we take him or do we trade down? Do we have an offer on the table for somebody that might want to move up because they want Malik? That they want, it's possible. There might be some trade partners. I know, Glenn, you're pessimistic about it, but I think there's a lot of nice players on the board. So I think I think Atlanta takes one of the edges. I think they either take Verse or Dallas Turner.
Dallas Turner.
And then there you go. We've got a decision on our hands. Do we want to take that edge to put on the other side of Tez, or do we take the other wide receiver? And I ultimately that's what I think Ryan Pohl's big decision that day is going to be, or trade. But I am 100% convinced one of the two wide receivers will be there at 9.
We'll see if the Giants don't take one. I think you're right that the Chargers are probably going to. And then again, we don't know. Like if someone trades up to get ahead of the Giants because maybe they think the Giants might take JJ, which I think that's really you're giving way too much to get a quarterback that I don't know. He's proven that he can be that dude at top 5 pick, but teams have done goofier things.
Yeah.
So if that happens, then yeah, one of those receivers should fall to us. But if the Giants and the Chargers don't move, and if they both take a wide receiver, then it's even more of a decision, like you said, at 9. And that's kind of where I think, Samuel was saying earlier, that leverage we had earlier, we don't seem to have that now. We're kind of going to have to play wait and see a little bit. Whereas before, and again, I hate to sound like a broken record, trading down would have given you so much more flexibility to maneuver all up and down the board, to do whatever you want to do, and maybe not necessarily force other people, but manipulate the board towards what you want. And now I think that level of manipulation isn't there for the Bears, and that's fine. That's saying they can't exist beyond that. It's just I feel like being able to maximize the 1 and the 9, the top 10 positions, picks. I don't know if I feel like Houston maximized their picks last year. I thought they were very masterful in doing that. And I don't know that we're going to come close to that, So that doesn't necessarily mean anything other than just speculatively saying, it seemed like you could have done more. So at the end of the day, they got to play the games on the field. We can discuss it, live long day, and have all our contrived mock drafts and all this other stuff, which is pretty much what I do every week anyway. but it stings a little bit potentially, and it could sting more if we're not able to accumulate enough talent to have the depth to withstand the rigors of an NFL season going forward. And I've said this before too. Sometimes I guess without sounding too cliche, I hate putting all my eggs in one basket. And I feel like that's what we sort of kind of did a little bit, or seems in that direction when it comes to the draft, is all I'm saying. And, I said it before, Caleb could be the right player, and this is anybody, obviously, but Caleb could be the right player, but if he has a wrong injury, now where are we? Bagent, is Bagent good enough to handle the structure we have now? Is that structure going to be sound enough for a talent like Bagent or Mark or Brett Rippon? I don't think so. I think this talent is tailor-made for a talented quarterback to take and to ascend with. I don't know how much this team, the way it's constructed, is going to be able to, basically hold the hand of a quarterback not as talented as Caleb. So hopefully that doesn't happen. And that's why, in my mind, a lot of times trading down, getting enough talent is to build, to handle just in case something like that does happen, But I'm beating a dead horse. I get that. I knew or felt weeks ago that Caleb was probably going to happen. So I've kind of been steadying that. But I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting as we draw closer, and even after the draft, we're going to have probably tons more speculation. We just hope that the kid can perform at the level that we expect him to. He's got a lot of pressure on him, and as we've been discussing here, the time is a little bit tighter because of the free agents that are on the team and how the length of their contracts coinciding with the success that the Bears need to have. Particularly at the skill positions, because they are not draft picks to this point, at least the main ones in both DJ and Allen. So, fingers crossed. I'll say this. This last thing I'll say to this. I leave you guys with this quote. It's an Oscar Wilde quote, and it's, there are two great tragedies that we face generally in this world, and one is not getting what one wants, and the other is getting it. So be careful what you ask for.
Hey, be careful what you ask for.
Yep.
So in closing, guys, hey, thank y'all for taking time out of y'all schedule tonight. Like I said, I think we're on the same wavelength. We're gonna support Caleb Williams. Look, we ready to move forward. I think, like I said, hopefully we can accumulate some more draft capital using number 9 because as of right now, the only pick we would have would be number 9 unless we can get some capital behind 75. But at this juncture, we're just gonna focus on where we are right now. Hopefully provide this kid some good infrastructure, some positive reinforcement, and like I said, hopefully 2024 with this last place schedule is gonna be a great year. So Glynn, as always, you're a blessing to the show. It's always good to hear your wisdom and your knowledge, and hopefully this year is gonna be special. David, as usual, I appreciate you. Samo, look, y'all get the chat some special endings before we depart. But look, I think we in for a great ride, guys. Go ahead.
Hey, great talking to you, Glynn. It was really insightful. You had some good feedback, good analysis. Looking forward to the future, maybe talking some more Bear football. And listen, man, at the end of the day, I'm a Chicago Bear fan through and through. Go Bears! That's I love Justin. I wish him well, but I'm on board with the Chicago Bears. And if it's Caleb's to pick, go Caleb. I'm his number 1 fan. That's what it is. Go Bears!
Absolutely. Always good to talk Bears football with you guys, David, Will, and Glenn, man. You are the man. We appreciate you for coming on, man, and you're a blessing to the Bears Nation, man. And keep doing what you do. We really believe in what you're saying and what you're doing. I love the way that you articulated what Justin meant to the Chicago Bears for us and to Chicago as a city. But like everyone is echoing and saying, it's time to move on, man. It's Caleb Williams' time. We will support that kid, man. And we all want him to succeed. We all want the Bears to be successful, man. I'm a Bears fan first, and that's just what it is. Shout out to everyone in the chat who's rocked with us for the past hour and a half. We know it was a long show, and hopefully you all enjoyed it. I definitely did. Bear down.
Yeah. Hey, fellas, I echo everything that everyone's been saying. Samo, David, guys, I appreciate you guys allowing me to share the space with you. It's been great listening to you, and the learning goes back and forth, man. And I enjoy listening to everyone's perspective. I try to learn from what everyone says. Will, you know how I feel about you, big brother. So, enjoy you, man, every day, all day. Swifty, and I can't forget about you either, my friend. So thank you, guys. It's an honor to be on the show. I appreciate every time you guys allow me to be able to share some space and just and talk. If nothing else, it's cathartic. So I'm a little less angry now than I was
the support
Sunday.
group, man. Support group.
Right, support group. No doubt. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
All right, baby. Hey, we out. Bear down.